time by Sagicor is
7 p.m.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, police investigate death after body found in halfway tree. Flash flood watch issued for several parishes. Rising river fuels fears in St. Thomas. In Farming Forward, KB Ranch operator gives insight on poultry farming. For Inspired Jamaica, a little girl's wish doubles. And in sports, Racing United held by Waterhouse as Mobe go top of JPL. Hello from Kingston, Jamaica. This is CVM News at 7. It's Sunday, January 4, 2026. Thanks so much for joining us. I am Curlin Brown. The police are investigating the discovery of a body in the Halfway Tree area earlier today. Up to news time, there was no identity, and so assistance is being sought. So far, the description is that of a male of brown complexion, about 5 feet 4 inches tall, clad in black shorts. Reports from the Halfway Tree police indicate residents found the body and alerted them. Upon arrival, officers observed what appeared to be wounds to the upper body. The body was taken to hospital and later removed to the morgue pending a post-mortem examination. The Meteorological Service has issued a flash flood watch for eastern and south central parishes of Jamaica until 7 a.m. on Monday, January 5. The Met Office says a broad trough across the central Caribbean has produced moderate to heavy showers and thunderstorms overnight, with activity focused over St. Mary, Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon and Manchester. Showers were expected to spread island-wide through to this evening, with lingering rain on Monday. Sea conditions will deteriorate and fishers are urged to exercise caution. Residents in low-lying areas should also take precaution and monitor updates via the Met Service or dial 116. And as several parishes brace for potentially devastating rainfall in the coming hours, the people of Blacksmith Lane in St. Thomas are appealing for swift intervention to save another house from being swept away by the raging Johnson River. Their fears are worsened by the latest flood watch and downpours lasting for hours. Here's Nika Lewis with that report.
Roaring and rushing towards homes, residents of Blacksmith Lane, Seaforth, say the river ripped through its banks early Sunday with a promise of completing what it began during Hurricane Melissa. Several homes were swept away, leaving only one.
Since 3:30 this morning, I smelled the river rising, and I went out. I get up out of my bed and come out to see what was really happening. And when I came out, I saw the river real muddy, high, start tearing away the banks again. The sand that they pushed up to say they are keeping off some of the water from the yard, all of the sand washed away. Then it start eat away the banking. It start eat under the pit. All of the sand washed away.
Under threat again, homes, lives and possibilities a mere 4 days into the new year.
I will still find money to do it. I don't know government body not coming to assist me to give it up. One of us push up back into somewhere else and water get it just a slide.
Left with little options, watching the river chomp away at his home's sandy foundation, Graham, with the help of several locals, sprung into action to secure what they could from the rebuilt pit, now under threat.
things without this, you know. We have to say something in Chuck around this, you know. So from big wood there, we have to drag it. And every time they call to them, they assist. Nobody now go assist somebody around here. Nobody from the ministry, no, but they go come right now this time right now and take name all time or something. Nobody around here. Some just a live.
After Melissa, we'd have to make a bigger pit. We'd have to make a big pit so that it can supply the whole yard and to keep the water off of the upstairs that is right here. But the river come back and see it. You're here and you have seen it. The pit has tilt right over, but it's not fully over, it tilt. So that means that the water keep eating under it. So eventually it's going to fall over too. And it's a lot of money that just gone down the drain again like that. So we just need some help from the government. We really need some help from the government. We really need some help from the government to assist us around here.
Locals say while they've contacted the councillor who advised them of efforts to secure contractors to stem the erosion, they've not seen their Member of Parliament since the day after Hurricane Melissa. Nika Lewis, CVM News.
New Year's Day celebrations were dampened for the owners of Paradise Catering as fire destroyed the popular establishment. Akeem Orit has the details.
Debris and damaged equipment are all that remain at Paradise Catering after an early morning fire tore through the business on New Year's Day. Managing Director of Paradise Catering, Ricardo Esson, says while he's grateful that no one was injured, the loss has been overwhelming with most of the company's equipment destroyed.
It damages all the catering equipment that we use for chafing pans, some pots, tables, tablecloths, in terms of our perishable and non-perishable items that were stored upstairs, because it's two warehouses, warehouse 1 and warehouse 2, and both warehouses have been burnt flat to the ground.
The impact of the fire has extended beyond the physical structure. With equipment destroyed, workers at the catering company have been left without jobs. However, Chef Esson hopes operations can eventually resume, but admits the road to recovery will not be easy.
Losing a job at this time, at the start of the year, it's very hard, and persons starting to ask me already, boy, bossy, how we gonna manage it now? Them have them family to feed. I just recently hired a young man who, barely can make it for his family, and he called me and he said to me, "Sir, what me I gonna do? Me just get the local work right now, and me not have nothing to fall back on right now. It's hard, it's rough." And hearing these from my staff, let me want to say, boy, how can we move on and rebuild?
Owner of the property, Vincent Mars, says the building represented his life savings. He is reconsidering how he rebuilds.
I would like to get a restart, repaint it out, see what can be done, get some stock at the same time where I can, sell the people, because the people will support me still, after the cleaning up. But I don't sure I'm going to do the building otherwise right now. You don't think I'm not sure right away.
Why is that? Why?
We have to have a plan, a complete plan for it. So we're going to put this aside, we're going to put this aside, because we're not make sense about another board structure. That's the only concrete part, and this is the only concrete part this year.
Councillor for the Whitfield Division, Eugene Kelly, is calling on the government to step in and assist small business owners affected by disasters.
We want the government to understand that it is small business such as this. They are the lifeblood of the inner city and this community and this side of and the economy, of course. And so we have to make place a special focus on how we are able to assist small business to recover. Many of them are not able to properly and sufficiently insure against such damage. And so we
from any disaster,
with a fire or otherwise, I believe that those in authority at the governmental level must see how best they can better assist small business owners in this regard.
In the meantime, Chef Esson is appealing to the public for assistance as he tries to rebuild his business.
So I'm reaching out to corporate Jamaica, my corporate clients. clients who are out there who continue to believe in us, who continue to give us a chance to shine, I'm asking you to give us some more chances so we can shine, so we can continue to provide meals for your staff, for your events, and also we can provide for our team and their families.
Hakeem Oret for CVM News.
Varying perspectives are emerging among members of the religious community regarding the acceptance of government funding based on hurricane damage assessments. Here's Crystal Williams with more.
Concerns have surfaced about the line between church and state in the recovery efforts after Hurricane Melissa. The government has pledged $75 million to the Social Development Commission, SDC, for rebuilding churches and faith-based institutions, channeled through the Religious and Faith-Based Task Force, which includes members of the Jamaica Umbrella Group of Churches. However, one government official has publicly questioned whether this allocation is appropriate. General Secretary of the Jamaica Council of Churches, Reverend Newton Dixon, responds to the critiques put forward by the concerned MP.
The Jamaica Council of Churches is of the view that we would prefer to see the funds prioritized in the direction of those who are still out of their houses and homes, the members of the society and the communities, and even members of our churches who are still struggling to find appropriate and safe housing, shelter, so that they can be relieved of some of this stress.
Be a good Samaritan. Be your brother's keeper. Love thy neighbor. These were some of the gospel mandates the Reverend referenced when the matter of helping others came to mind. He says he does not see an issue with entities receiving support from the government once they meet the qualifying criteria.
We should discriminate in no way, shape, or form against anyone, whether or not we think they can support themselves or not. We should support those who are in need. We support people. We help people. We believe in the dignity of people, irrespective of their color, their class, their creed, or their ethnic orientation.
He notes that a number of educational facilities are originally funded by churches, while some churches have lent their spaces to assist with educational purposes. In his opinion, this is one of the key nationwide benefits of contributing towards the rebuilding efforts of churches.
Because education is a key pillar for national development, and because churches generally support and promote education as one of the ways by which we will attain personhood and dignity, then support for spaces, albeit religious, that engage in educational activities could be supported.
Crystal Williams reporting for CVM News.
Recent relief effort to Shrewsbury in Logwood, Westmoreland was a welcome break for the community. Hakeem Oret tells us about the visit from the Faith Apostolic Ministries from Kingston.
3 months after Hurricane Melissa tore through sections of Westmoreland, life is still far from normal for some residents. In the community of Shrewsbury Logwood, damaged house, lost livelihoods and a lingering fear remain part of daily life. For 58-year-old Melvin Barnes, the morning the hurricane passed is one he says he'll never forget.
The storm started in Shrewsbury Logwood 6:30 in the morning. And when the storm started get bad, I leave out the house about a minute to 1, where I almost lose my life to carelessness, because I get called from Monday night to come in our concrete house, and I didn't go, because every storm come at Logwood, I was in my own home. And after I leave out of my house, 25 minutes after I leave out of my house is flat out, right out. So
Barnes is one of dozens of residents who benefited from relief supplies distributed by Faith Apostolic Ministries. The members traveled from Kingston with food items, clothing and medical support. But even as the outreach was underway, weather conditions reminded everyone of how vulnerable they remain.
And it was a little bit chaotic inside the church because the rain started coming in on everybody that is inside. The tarpaulin was filled with water, and a lot of the doctors, the nurses, and even the patients were getting wet. You know, we have persons inside who were assisting to push over the water, and this is something that we have been experiencing in the community since the passage of Hurricane Melissa, because a number of houses, a number of roofs were blown off. We have tarpaulins on the houses, and this is what they experience whenever it rains.
Along with care packages, medical volunteers from the ministry and the First Corinthians Foundation provided basic health checks and medication. One volunteer says faith-based organizations continue to play a critical role in the national recovery efforts.
Faith Apostolic Ministries and other organizations like this is very important for the recovery of the Jamaican people. We have a lot of work to do, and partnership and collaboration is important. We are looking forward to working with FAM in the future, and First Corinthians 13 Foundation is dedicating as much of its resources that it can afford to ensure that average Jamaicans have full access to basic health services.
Dr. Kishona Ferguson of the Faith Apostolic Ministries says while food supplies are important, long-term recovery requires a broader approach.
Some people say, I've lost all my livestock, I've lost all my, chicken, I've lost my bees, I've lost, what I used to do. I just need a little money, maybe just to buy some more chickens, just to buy, something else that I can start again. So as we continue to, lend a shoulder, a listening ear, give them medical care, we also look forward, what next as we continue to, show love and compassion to those in need.
Residents in Shrewsbury, Westmoreland say continued support will be critical to ensure they are better prepared for the next hurricane season. Reporting for CVM News, I am Akeem Art.
And we will continue with CVM News right after this.
Need to pass your CSEC CAPE exams to get that dream job or to qualify for university? Then Distinction College is the school for you. We have locations in Kingston, Spanish Town, St. Elizabeth and Ocho Rios. Start day, evening and Saturday classes this coming term and sit CSEC CAPE exams for January's resit or May-June. Maths, law, science, English. We have the lowest school fees. Register before the end of the month and win an entire term free. Call us at 354-8560.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction. 'Cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music you can play and the people that must say we are my show tonight. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got the spark, don't be the dark. Shine your lights on.
Welcome back to CVM News at 7. Chirps and Feathers, our Farming Forward team went to a poultry farm on KB Ranch in Clarendon. Here's Drusel Mills with the details.
Farming Forward is brought to you what's happening?
Charlton James, better known by his colleagues as Chris, is the operator of this beautiful farm. His farm is definitely a sight to behold. It's home to cows, chickens, sheep, and goats. Wait. Pause. Let's roll it back to the chickens.
A proper chicken house is what you need to start your chicken business. Let's see what's happening inside the chicken houses.
Think twice, because this is not your regular chicken house. This has the latest technologies to ensure we get the best quality chickens.
Yeah, this is the control room. So they got a computer, so I control everything inside the house. So if anything go wrong, the alarm will go off.
So these are for like
screen temperature, show you everything. How many fans working right now. So we have 7 fans working. The temperature inside the house is 90.2 degrees. And there are 17 days. Water consumption.
So the controls the fan, the water,
everything.
Everything?
See everything.
So everything is automatic.
Yeah.
Oh, nice! I can't wait to go inside. What's this?
This is a backup. So if this fails, this take over until.
So this source, is it from solar? Is it solar power?
No, but we have solar, but this is just what comes with the company.
Let's see what's happening inside with our chicken friends.
These chickens are babies, just 17 days old, after which Caribbean Broilers collects them and the process is repeated. This chicken house holds 38,000 birds.
And what specific temperatures do they have to be?
Well, they have different, it varies. Each week, the temperature drops. When they just come, they need warm, so the temperature is going to be more. But like 2 weeks time, they need cool, so you have to have a balanced temperature.
Okay, so what's the difference between the 2 weeks? Is it because they have feathers?
Well, the 2 weeks, because they get, if you notice when they pick them out, the body heat, they generate a lot of heat. So you have to cool them with the fans. So we have a thing like the cool fan right up here. So that water mix from to the cool pad and then the fan distribute.
Here's the setup of the cooling pad.
So whenever you get too hot, see the water, the pump chip in, and then now the fan gonna bring the mist right across the house and cool the birds.
Next week, we get more insight from Chris on how the chickens are properly cared for. Until then, I am your animal whisperer, Druselle Mills.
Chicken worm! Why are you so warm? Hello! Alright! I hope you not come here quietly or alright.
See you then. Farming Forward is brought to you by Nutrimix.
And it's time now for regional and international news.
We begin with the news in the region. In Barbados, at least 5 people have been hospitalized following an early morning shooting in Bridgetown. Police say they received a report of the incident around 3 a.m. along Hing Street in the city. We hear more from CBC News.
Our preliminary investigations have shown that a number of persons would have disembarked from a cruise vessel, having gone on a cruise party, and whilst exiting from that vessel, a number of gunshots were heard. As a result, information is that a number of persons received gunshot injuries. Now, I cannot give a definite figure as it relates to the casualty count because, like I said, a number of the persons were transported to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in private vehicles. So the Barbados ambulance service was not utilized. So we're still trying to get a correct figure. Those persons were transported for urgent medical attention to the QEH, Queen Elizabeth Hospital, where they are currently undergoing treatment. Now, our investigations are continuing to the matter.
On the international scene, protesters in Spain have taken to the streets to condemn what they describe as U.S. military intervention in Venezuela and the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Demonstrators gathered outside the U.S. Embassy in Madrid, calling for its closure and urging the European Union to sever ties with Washington. We hear more from Al Jazeera's Camille Nedilek.
We're here near the US Embassy in Madrid along with these protesters who are calling on that embassy to close over the United States capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. There are some protesters bearing placards calling on the EU to cut ties over the US's repeated military interventions in foreign sovereign states. And there have been chants calling the United States fascists and terrorists. And the real crux of the issue for many protesters here is the fact that this was a unilateral action, and while President Nicolas Maduro wasn't popular among many Venezuelans, the action that the White House took on Saturday wasn't voted on by the Venezuelan people either, and now they face a future that is deeply uncertain. Camille Nedilek, Al Jazeera, Madrid.
Meanwhile, police in Switzerland say the bodies of 16 more victims killed in a bar fire at the ski resort of Crans-Montana have now been identified. Authorities confirmed the youngest victim was a 14-year-old Swiss girl, with 9 of those who died believed to be under the age of 18. More from the BBC.
I'm right in the centre of Crans-Montana, just down the road from the bar itself, the Constellation, which is just at the end, at the foothill of the mountain there. And behind me, this crowd are in the street because there is a mass at St Christopher's Church this morning. The normal Sunday mass has become a mass for the victims of the tragedy on New Year's Eve here in that bar. And people here, of course, gathering to remember the many victims of this horrific fire. We've learned this morning that more of the dead have been identified. The police have said that now there's a total of 24 bodies that have been formally identified, and those bodies being returned to their relatives. They are of various nationalities, not just Swiss. There were many people who were here on holiday, and a lot of the victims of this fire we have now had confirmed are very young teenagers, including Italians, including Swiss, including multiple nationalities. And so, of course, for the families who had been, until that moment, hoping against hope that perhaps their relatives, their children in many cases, were in hospital somewhere unidentified yet. They're getting the worst possible news. They're now beginning the grieving process knowing that their children have in fact died. There was one woman who we were following on social media who'd been posting messages for several days hoping that somebody would have seen her son, Tristan, a teenager from here in Switzerland, and she has recently posted that in actual fact she's now had it confirmed that he is among the victims of this fire, and she has posted a photograph of him and said, you know, this is the worst possible news. So terrible news for people here. And of course, it's a very small community. As you can see, a lot of people in the street here wanted to take part in this commemorative mass this morning.
And that's it for regional and international news. I'm Akeem Oret.
We'll be right back. Stay where you are.